Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Banner 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Packard, J. King.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Still Poddable, still Poddable.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Still Poddable, still Poddable. Still Poddable, still Poddable. The Boston Celtics still Poddable, still Poddable. Oh yeah! Shut your ass up,
Your daddy's always halfway there.
Welcome to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's internet. I am Sam Jam Packard, professional sports fan, joined by the great Brian B. Robb from MassLive.com. We are Still Poddable, a Monday through Friday Boston Celtics podcast. Most days you can find us at patreon.com/stillpoddable. Subscribe today if you want that daily Celtics content. But today, this is the free episode. We do one free show once a week. So we are on the CLNS YouTube page. We are brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app. And B-Rob, we had, some news since our last free episode. The positive, the Celtics have won 6 in a row. The negative, Jayson Tatum had a terrible ankle sprain against the Sacramento Kings the other night. And the jury is still out on some random guy, Bill Chisholm, bought the Celtics.
Billy Banners,
and no one's ever heard of this guy. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think we'll find out. But first, I think we got to talk about the Jayson Tatum injury. Obviously, it did not look great. You don't like to see your star player writhing around in pain. Definitely brought me back to Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 against the Heat from a couple years ago.
Same.
Not a fun thing. It's kind of the thing you worry about. I feel like we like all the best things you could hear about coming off the game in terms of an ankle injury, like no walking boot, wearing sneakers in the locker room, laughing. We just got the injury report for tomorrow, the game against the Suns. He's not out. He's not even declared out. Only doubtful, which I don't know, B-Rob, you may know this more than me, but like, how much of that is gamesmanship on the injury report? Like, how much is that a legitimate assessment of his chances of playing? I don't know. I just don't know how much to read into that, but I'm also reading a lot into that because I want Jayson Tatum to be okay, and that's a good sign that he is on the mend.
Yeah, the Celtics injury reports this year have been a work of art with the gamesmanship department.
Who's in charge of that? Who makes
that's
those
I couldn't tell you. I assume the training staff. Obviously, I don't know.
But there is like strategic advantages. Like I feel like they're playing, so it's like it's got to be like the training staff in consultation with Brad. Is Brad making these decisions? I think
that'd be Joe. Joe's the mastermind. Here.
Austin Ainge, like who's weighing in here?
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, that's a good deep dive that we'll probably never be able to fully delve into, but that would be a fascinating how-to from the inside. But regardless, doubtful's not out. If he was out I think the big thing is there was no release. There was no injury release from the team, which happens during, you'd think, any significant absence.
We just got one for Jaylen Brown missing 2 games. Like that was eye-opening, and I was like, oh, that means it's a little bit more serious than. And even that, I thought they were like, that's because we're planning on resting him for back-to-back games, and we want to shore that up by making sure it's like legit. A lot of injury shenanigans going on with this Boston Celtics PR staff, I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Probably shouldn't say that on the free episode.
Right. I don't think the PR is probably not the people actually in control of that stuff. But regardless, they're following through. He's doubtful. All things considered, this is good news. Like he's not out 6 day weeks if he's doubtful a day later. I think everyone as you said, everything that came out of from post game last night was promising, whether it was Joe's comments reports on how he looked in the locker room, him telling, I think, Ramon Shelburne that, I'm okay, it's just sore. So here's my spin zone, Packard. Like, this ankle injury, sneaky good news, because now you don't have to fight as much of Tatum to actually get him to rest for the last 10, 11 games of the regular season. We know how much he likes to play. It's why he was playing a back-to-back on Monday night that the team clearly didn't need him to play. Not really playing anything for in the standings right now. Nice to get the starting five together for a minute, but you don't necessarily need to do that on a back-to-back. But now they can at least be like, all right, you're going to get your ankle right. And guess what? We're not fooling around with anything else in the rest of the regular season. So we want you to get back, get your endurance up, break us, a sweat. Obviously get some time with the starters, but you being healthy is the most important thing in repeating right now. And we need to make sure that whether it's your ankle or the rest of your body, that you are good to go on that front. So this now, I don't know if call him, they've butted heads, if you will, Packer. I think that's the way he put it before. I wonder if this happening at this stage of the season will, make those conversations go a little bit smoother, whether it's this year or beyond with him as far as it comes to rest.
That is, if we are assuming Jayson Tatum is the logical actor in this scenario. Because what if he's just playing on Saturday against the Spurs? What if he's just like, I got to get back here at least for these games. I think at least. So last year he sat out the final 2 games of the year. I think those were both against the Hornets. Yeah. No, that's this year. They're both against the Hornets.
It probably was against the Hornets last year too. It's always against some crap team.
He's not going to play in those games. He probably shouldn't play in against the Magic or in that back-to-back.
Right. Just a back-to-back.
So there's no real reason to rush him back. I think the Wizards game, I was going to say the Wizards game's a matinee, so he shouldn't play in that game, but it's at 6 p.m. But there's a lot of excuses for why you can kind of keep Jayson Tatum out of the game. I think the hope is that he is a rational actor here and is like, yes, I just need to not put as much weight on that ankle, but you also want to see him come back and be able to play. I feel like last year in the playoff run, he had a lot of mini ankle things. And I think you and Jay talked about this in the podcast after the Kings game. It was he has kind of this uncanny ability to bounce back from these ankle injuries, especially on the landing spot issues. But last year in the playoffs, it felt like he had a momentary ankle thing and kind of had a hurt wrist for the entire playoffs last year. So I do have this faith in Jayson Tatum to be able to play while not 100%. I think the thing that is very frustrating is that it's just this past month, he's basically been 30-point triple-double guy. And it feels like he's really just elevating his game. And I'm not sure if a lot of that feels like decision-making and reading the game. And I'm not sure you necessarily lose that with an ankle sprain, but you just don't want to see anything kind of hurting that momentum just because it felt like he was peaking as they were kind of gearing up to head into the playoffs.
Agreed. It flat out sucks. He's been a maestro in the last month, and it's been really fun to watch. And especially when you saw him with the guys he was doing out there, it's hey, Baylor Shireman, J.D. Davidson, get out here. Yeah, let's go on a 10-2 run together because I can pick offenses apart and our defenses apart, if you will. And so, yeah, this clearly disrupting that rhythm from any standpoint sucks. But you still have a long runway here to do it. And like you said, it shouldn't really impact the decision-making part of it for him, which I think has been what has taken him to that next level here since the All-Star break. So if they get that back, Jalen came back. We really talked about him much money, after Monday's win.
Didn't look good.
Right. I was going to say, the first half was, but he at least, and I think he talked to, I want to say, on his blog, The Globe, after the game, and he admitted that he wasn't going full throttle, which is good. This is, yes, Jalen, you're going to take 3 games off. You probably, I'm guessing you wanted to get back because you want to qualify for the all NBA stuff, all defense stuff. And yeah, if you're going to play just to get, you don't get your hands dirty in these games, that's fine. That's fine. Get in there, work up a sweat, but don't get beaten up for 35 minutes, play 25 and get those 65 games.
It's interesting because I think last time we had a free show, it was me, you, and Jay, and we were like, what are we really looking for from this Celtics team down the stretch? And all three of us said, we want to see the starting five play together. That is out the window. That is
one injury.
No longer something that is a top priority for the Celtics.
First round, they worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you have a warm-up series against maybe like the Chicago Bulls or the Hawks, or hopefully not the Magic, because I feel like they're just going to be extremely annoying. But it reminds me to pull up the standings and see exactly where they are right now. But that the Celtics do have this kind of opportunity to get right. I guess they could play the Magic, the Bulls, the Heat, or the Hawks as it stands. And I gave those teams not in the 7, 8, 9, 10 order. And I'm sorry if that's confusing, but I'm not going to correct myself. Given that we're not going to see the starting five, given that we want to see Jayson Tatum come back to full health, we want to see Jaylen Brown get back to full health. What are we looking for from this team? And is it just Baylor Shireman?
Right. Can Baylor Shireman start a playoff game? No. Yeah, it's that. It is. Yeah, you can just go down the roster right now. It's like Jalen, get healthy. Al Horford,
Rest.
Stay healthy. Rest. Porzingis, bubble wrap.
Stay healthy.
Derek White is going to play every game, but don't break your teeth. Yeah, and strictly down the line. And even Hauser. It's like Hauser, Pritchard. Those guys have nothing to prove anymore. Like Hauser's been on a heater for a month as well. Pritchard's got 6-man pretty much wrapped up. He doesn't even have to really pad the stats or anything. And Cornette is just a walking, not double-double, but walking.
Not double-double. That guy is allergic to double-doubles. But yeah, he's really contributing, and he can give you 6 and 6 pretty much any game. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's a good opportunity for maybe Drew Holiday to get back in rhythm and just like if Tatum's not playing and Jaylen Brown is not like full strength, it's like the ball maybe in Drew Holiday's hands. And I just expect more dominance from Peyton Pritchard. Given that we know Tatum might be playing less and Jaylen Brown might be playing less, fine folks out there might use that as an opportunity to make some money. And I think their good way to do that is be using Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. It's the best place to win cash while watching sports. You can join over 10 million users and sign up today. On Prize Picks, you mix and match player projections from different sports. All you have to choose higher or lower on 2 or more player projections, and you can make up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, or more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Coming down the stretch, use your knowledge a little bit. Maybe you see Jayson Tatum's on the injury report and you boost your Peyton Pritchard hires, your Derek White hires. I think it's a good opportunity. And right now, if you download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS, you get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. Download Prize Picks today. Use promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Now, B-Rob, the other big piece of news is that the Celtics sold for a record, North American record, I would say, $6.1 billion to a guy no one had ever heard of until he was rumored to be buying the Celtics 3 months ago. Now, that gives me some pause because I want the new Celtics owner to be James Bond villain levels of rich, because they need to pay basically $500 million in payroll alone next year. And I want someone who's going to come in and scoff at the idea that he wouldn't pay that amount of money. And William Chisholm, Billy Banners, Billy Chiz.
First off, he's been interviewed a couple of times. We haven't talked to you about just his initial impressions of him in these. Talking to Abby Chin, friend of the show last night, with his wife.
Talked to Forsberg.
Talked to Forsberg.
Enemy of the show.
Packard's rival. Yeah, like what are you're the fan. Like, what are your impressions? We know that obviously it's not crazy money he has, but Billy Banner's the man. the
Here's
family
the
man,
thing.
it appears. How do we feel about him so
It's
far?
hard to get a read on him. And I feel like, and maybe I'm being a little bit paranoid here, they're really playing up the fact that grew up in Boston, or where's he from? Georgetown,
Georgetown,
Massachusetts?
Mass, North Shore.
Yeah. You know that town that everyone stops into on their way up to Maine? Or no, that's just a sign you see. That's not like a famous North Shore destination. But they're really playing up the fact that he is a Celtics fan. Now, is part of that because Pags wrote this crazy 5-paragraph letter being like, we're the real Celtics fans and we're going to spend through the ears if we had gotten the team and this is bullshit? Probably they know that like Boston is filled with a bunch of rabid sports fans. Here's the thing. If he's such a big Celtics fan and a very rich guy, I would have liked to seen a connection to the Celtics before this. That being said, counterpoint. His wife was interviewed by Abby Chin, and she dropped how much she loves how intense Joe Mazzulla is, a big fan of Brad Stevens, and a big fan of Abby Chin. So it does seem like the Chisholm household has been watching Celtics game at least to develop opinions, not only about Joe, but the prior head coach and the best sideline reporter in the biz. And so I don't know if he's
the fandom seems legit.
Definitely seems legit. Like he's definitely is a fan. And I get why they're kind of playing up that he's a fan. And that like plays to my like interest as a Celtics fan. But I'd rather he would be like insanely wealthy. I'd rather him be Steve Ballmer. Because you being a fan doesn't matter if next year you're like, well, we gotta get under the second apron. Like and we gotta start making trades. And so I don't know. It's very interesting to me about how this is going to work out because he's doing all the right things. He's saying he's a Celtics fan. He's meeting with the players, offering them, good things. Like it's a similar situation where it's like he's not putting up $6.1 billion. Like he's coming from private equity. I think 20% of the team is also owned by or being purchased by like a firm, and that's like the max.
Street, like a potentially 15%.
That's the maximum the NBA allows for that point. So he's like, and he's putting out like I think he's still like accumulating minority owners in that role. So it's like. Wick Grossbeck he owned only 2% of the team, and like Irv was the big spender, and Wick stole his credit card, which that was nice. But like, where is the additional funds necessarily coming from? The thing that's also interesting to me is that the press release said that Wick would remain the governor till 2028.
Yes.
You know who said the same thing? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban said he was going to stay on in basketball operations, and he slowly got pushed out and was not there as part of the finals run and just like wasn't part of the team when they were having the most success they've had since the 2011 season. And then clearly he had no influence over the Luka trade. And so unless that 2028 transition is in writing part of the deal, I'm very skeptical. If I'm Billy Chisholm, if I'm Billy Banners, and I just ponied up $6.1 billion with all my minority owners, and there's still, I think there's a current minority owner of the Celtics who's part of like kind of the new ownership group as well.
Yeah, Robert Hale, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why am I letting... And maybe Wick's like holding on to his 2%, so he still has some stake in the game. But like, why am I letting Wick be the face of the franchise?
You know
Not
why?
just for 1 year, but
you got
for
the deal. That was your trump card.
If that was a strict condition as part of the deal, maybe that's why Pags didn't get it. Pag was like, "No, it's my time to shine. God damn it, I'm the leader."
I mean, 100%. I can tell you, like that was not part of Pags' offer. Was like Wick staying in charge for 3 years. So I don't know about the other offers in play in terms of,
but is this a firm offer in writing? This is taking me back to contracts 101 because an oral agreement is not necessarily binding. And if this needs to be in the paperwork with a designated transition plan. And I don't think we've gotten confirmation of that. We just got it in the press release.
Right.
And I like.
Well, it's in writing then, Packard. It's in writing. It's right in the press release, so they can't
have both parties sign that document, and can that document be intent to form an obligation? I mean, I feel like the NBA doesn't like that type of deal just because how poorly it went with Minnesota, with A-Rod and Mark Lowry taking over from Glenn Taylor, and that ended up immediately in litigation, and that was written as part of the deal too. Yeah. But I think that was different because the new owners were putting up money in parts. So there's like they put up $1 billion, and then they put up $1 billion, and then they put up like, I think $3 billion. And before they could have put up the final $3 billion, Glenn Taylor like removed from the deal. I don't think Wick, I'm speaking out of my ass here. I'm assuming they put all the money up front. Like it's not going to be done in a bunch of
right. It's like it's a cleaner, like 51% now, and then 2028 later. And I assume, Wick might still be around for this point, but the rest of the family, I imagine, is cashing out now. Like
they're selling all Irv's part of the team.
Yeah, all
Wick
Irv's,
probably still has his 2%, and that's why he gets to stay. Like that's the only thing that makes sense in terms of him staying on as governor.
Yes.
That being said, even if Wick is governor, the people, I'm going to peel behind the curtain here, folks, but the people who control the money get to make decisions about how the money is spent. And so Wick might be the governor, but if Billy Chiz comes in and says, I don't want to pay the Oklahoma City Thunder the luxury tax, like I don't want to just put the coffers of all these other pseudo billionaires by paying $250 million in taxes alone.
Or even to have that money. You just bought a team for $6 billion. You've got another.
Yeah, you're not liquid here.
You're not like you got another $200 million lying around for a year of payroll.
And so it's just going to be fascinating to see what like next summer, win or lose. I think winning, it's much easier to bring the team back because then you're going for a historic three-peat and there's so much more pressure to do that. But if the Celtics do not win the title, then there's just very interesting decisions to make about what this roster looks like. Because last year was easy. You just bring everyone back, but you have some aging guys. Drew Holiday's contract's interesting. Kristaps Porzingis is an interesting deal. Whether or not he can be healthy, he's expiring. What kind of deal is he looking for? Al Horford is also a free agent. That like he should have a forever contract, but how many
he's
years?
Not gonna play for the vet min. I mean, if they get Al Horford at the vet min, like he's a mid-level player right now. Like
if Luke Cornett's agent did anything, he could get some serious money. But
they're gonna have to back up the Brinks truck for Luke. I mean, at this point, the way he's playing, it is because the amount of like the money that's being we talked about right now, like the $500 million of like salary and tax penalties, that number does not include Al or Luke, and both of those guys. Al, we don't know if he's going to play or not. I would assume, I'll probably try to talk to him about this at some point. Like, I imagine he's just going to wait till the end of the year, but he's certainly playing at a level where it's like, especially if they win, like, you're going to walk off of that, or are you going to try to make history and go for like 3 titles? So, like, for him, and then Luke, the good news for the Celtics is they have his bird rights now, so they will be able to pay him what they can afford to pay him, like, and not have to worry about, more than the veteran minimum. Obviously, they won't be outbid for him.
But are you paying 3 times his salary?
Right, are you paying? Yeah, you're paying. If it's going to cost you $40 million to pay him $5 million for 1 year or whatever, that is going to be a fascinating decision too. And so these are all good problems to have if you're coming off a title. Will be very tough issues to deal with if they come up short. But that stuff's not going away. And to your point about the ownership, like the money people involved here, it's like convincing 6th Street to say, hey, let's burn an extra $200 million. Is like, that's not a person. That's a firm. And I don't think they're going to be on board of just throwing away tens of millions of dollars from their stake.
No private equity firm has ever purchased something and then said, let's increase expenditures and increase the risk without any guarantees of like the return on investment. Like that's just not how private equity works. They normally come in and reduce spending as much as possible and try to milk a company for everything it's worth. So maybe he'll get a minority owner with some deep pockets here who, like, I just don't know what the situation is. But that's a future Celtics problem, right?
Future. And so it is. This is like the window for now. This is why getting everyone healthy now in line, they have a pretty unique opportunity here as composed. And then I imagine the appeal to keep everyone together becomes even better, somehow, some way. If you're saying, hey, we're going for a three-peat, which would put us in the NBA record books forever. So that they're set up to be able to do that, and it just creates an interesting subplot. But yeah, there's all sorts of angles here, and this is all, we're not gonna get a conclusion of this until June from all people with the team, and then I guess it's going to be voted on at the Board of Governors. Like whatever sale is approved is going to go through then, and then obviously that's when the big decisions will be coming down the pike.
It'd be great if they somehow like delay the vote, and so then Wick can come in and sign Al Horford and Luke Cornett to some outrageous extensions, and then finally transfer the team. Like that is some parliamentary procedure that I would definitely follow. But no matter what, we're gonna be stuff to talk about this offseason with the one Boston Celtics.
It'll be the place to be. We'll be all over this. It'll be a very big offseason one way or another.
Speaking of places to be, Celtics are making a playoff run, and if you want to be in the TD Garden for that playoff run, or if you want to catch a baseball game at Fenway Park, I would suggest using the Game Time app. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets, whether it's to basketball, baseball, theater, concerts, comedy shows. You go to the Game Time app, and it's just a super great way to just get cheap tickets, the cheapest tickets you can find. You can have Game Time picks, which curate your experience and make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, all in pricing, so you can figure out what you're going to spend. No extra fees added on at the end. You can get a seat view, and so you can figure out exactly what you're going to be looking at before you buy. There's a low ticket price guarantee, and there's also Game Time ticket coverage, so your purchase is covered with most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Now, we've been talking about, what they're going to do next summer, and obviously we haven't mentioned the big elephant in the room. Nick Wright from Fox Sports 1. He said today that he heard from two people, independent of each other, two separate people, that the big NBA scuttlebutt going on right now is Kevin Durant to the Boston Celtics. Now, I remember July 4th, what was that, 2016?
Yep.
We just got the pictures of Jay Crowder, Kelly Olynyk, Isaiah Thomas, Tom Brady visiting the house in the Hamptons, trying to recruit Kevin Durant to the Celtics. You thought there might be a chance. I was sitting there. I think I was at a pool party in Westbrook, Maine, just being a crumb bum, just looking at Twitter, refreshing Twitter. Be like, are you going to jump in the pool? It's like, no, I can't do anything until Kevin Durant signs. And I thought he would have been perfect with the Celtics. And so I was always excited for that idea. Fast forward, 9 years. That's a tough number to deal with at the moment. I am less excited about the idea of Kevin Durant to the Celtics. And I don't know who these two people Nick Wright are talking to. Independent people. They're independent. One's over here, one's over there. But B-Rob, what was your reaction to this bit of wild, rampant speculation?
It was Nick Wright's brother and an old college buddy who's
two different people. And they're
both
both talking to Nick Wright, who came up with the idea.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The Celtics have had, I would say, ample opportunity, Packard, to try to trade for Kevin Durant in the last 5, 6, 7 years, even after the Derby. And they have not gone down that road. Now we're talking about all these decisions coming down the pike, and it's like, yeah, do you know what Durant is making next year, Packard?
No, I was just going to the trade machine right now, but I'm sure it's like $60 million.
Yeah, a cool 54.7 million for next season. So here's the fun part that maybe we'll have to tell Nick Wright about. Maybe I'll shoot him a message. The Celtics can't trade for Kevin Durant because as they're composed right now, they're going to be over the second apron for next year, which means they can't aggregate players in a trade, can't combine 2 for 1. So Durant makes more than anyone on the Celtics roster right now. So there's
I was
literally
just trying to aggregate Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. You're telling me I can't?
So what they would have to do is they would have to trade someone away to get under the second apron, $207 million. You have to trade away Drew for like no money. And then you could go ahead and trade Jaylen Brown and player X for Kevin Durant.
There's no possible way to do that if you have to get under the apron just to then get up just to combine salaries to get $50 million.
Like that's the roadmap to getting Kevin Durant for
how far are they above the apron right now?
So for next season, you can I guess technically they're over it now, but I don't think that you'd have to
would trading away Hauser for nothing get them under the apron and then allow them to trade Kristaps and Drew.
Yeah, so I guess So I mean, I guess technically you could trade Hauser.
That doesn't seem
right. Does that
to
seem
me
is that what you want to do?
Entirely trade Hauser, Drew, and Kristaps Porzingis
for a
38-year-old Kevin Durant
on an expiring contract. And I also don't think why are the Suns doing that either? From a standpoint
of very valid point.
I think
building around. I mean, I think
you're building around a couple 30. I mean, Drew Holiday and Porzingis are great, but what does that do for the Suns financially and championship wise? No, if they're going to trade Durant, they need, ideally for them, a lot of picks and at least a younger building block.
The Celtics do have a lot of picks. They have all their own picks. I don't know how valuable they're going to be.
It's just the hoops that would have to be jumped through here to even make this a possibility are crazy. And I don't think this is a match anyway. And I don't you're not trading for Kevin Durant. If you're trading for Kevin Durant for when you have Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum on your roster, that's just a non-starter. That's financially impossible. You're going to be blowing through. Your payroll is going to be even bigger than what is projected to be right now for next season, which is a crazy number. So sorry, Nick Wright. I think this one,
two people
independently don't think this one's gonna be coming down the pike. There's gonna be a lot of teams in on Kevin Durant, I imagine, this offseason, but I would not count the Celtics to be on that list.
And Kevin Durant very publicly turned down a trade to the Warriors.
Yes,
I understand that he has a lot of baggage there, but does Kevin Durant want to play in Boston? Does he also yearn for that Kelly Olynyk, Jay Crowder, Tom Brady meeting in the Hamptons? I've gotten no indication that Kevin Durant is dying to come play in Boston, where there's basically two guys. Jayson Tatum plays his direct position. Kevin Durant has made he's not in his later stages of career becoming a center. I am very open to the idea of moving on from Drew Holiday if there's a deal that makes sense this offseason, just because he is an aging player who makes $30 million a year. If you really want to get under that second apron, I think Peyton Pritchard can immediately become the starter, and that one makes sense to me. But if I'm trading Drew Holiday, I have an aging Al Horford. I have an injury-prone Kristaps Porzingis. I still like Luke Cornett, but I'm fine on the wing. The Celtics do not need help on the wing. I feel like they would need a big man or maybe another guard to replace Drew Holiday if you trade him. Just the potential deal really makes no logical sense to anyone except for the two individuals who Nick Wright is speaking with, who are not speaking with each other.
Would you do, this isn't going to happen, imagine, but that Celtics obviously did not want to trade Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant back when he was with the Nets. Like, I assume that is not a deal that would be palatable for them now, because I think
it would be 5 years ago, maybe, but
right.
Kevin Durant's 38
years old.
And
So,
Jaylen's value is like, obviously Kevin Durant in his prime was always a better player than Jaylen Brown has ever been. And I don't think that's a bold statement to say. Jaylen Brown is 7 years old, absolutely in his prime, and still playing great perimeter defense. And like, a lot of his value comes from his ability as a two-way basketball player. I am saying this having not watched a lot of Phoenix Suns game this year, but I'd be shocked if KD was a lockdown perimeter defender or a really physical defender right now. He's just never been that type of impact defensive player. Obviously, when he was in his prime, he was a better defensive player, but KD at 38, he's getting into his mid-range. He's going to be an efficient scorer. He's one of the greatest shooters who's ever played the game. This is no disrespect to KD, but I'm not trading my second best player in his prime for a guy who's 38. It just makes no sense at this point.
No, that shortens your window. No matter what you think about both those guys. And there may come a time this decade where they do have to trade Jaylen for financial reasons, I'd imagine, to be the main motivator. Like, not anytime soon necessarily, but down the line, like if they stay over the second apron for 3-4 years and those penalties start adding up, like, you have to come to a point. But if that trade has to be made, like, trading for a 38, 39-year-old, no matter how good he is not the path I'd imagine the front office goes in. If that's a bridge they do have to cross some point, which they may very well don't. If they win you win a title here, you're not even like thinking about anything like that, period. And the fact we just spent 10 minutes on it was probably too long, but guess what? This is what we're here for. We have to inform the people and run through these hypotheticals, because
that's what we do. We're a Monday through Friday Boston Celtics podcast. So if there's a poppycock rumor by a semi-reputable source, we're going to discuss it here on Still Poddable, especially on an off day where there's no new games to play. Well, tomorrow night, we're not going to mention this. We might, because they actually happen to be playing the Phoenix Suns. This is the terrible example. I walked myself right into that one, but that is my bad. But
so we'll be scouting Kevin Durant tomorrow night. Yeah, Suns are hot. They're going to be clawing up to that 9 seed in the West. So
Suns are hot. Celtics are hot. Celtics have won 6 in a row. Celtics still, trying to get that first seed from the Cavaliers. It's only 4.5 games. Who knows, B-Rob? Crazier things have happened. Anything that does happen, we will be talking about it with you on Still Poddable. So if you like the show and want to hear more, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We appreciate everyone watching out there on the CLNS YouTubes. Go to Prize Picks, go to Game Time, use the CLNS promo code, get some money with those fine products. And we'll be back next week on this feed, or we'll be back tomorrow if you subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable, with more Celtics analysis. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for watching.
Still Poddable, the Boston Celtics, Still Poddable.